Good morning, I'm Maddie Jansen, and this is the podcast of 17 News at Sunrise. It's everything you need to know to start your day in about 15 minutes.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Right now at 5, a fourth straight night of protests in the streets of downtown Bakersfield take on a decidedly calmer tone. We'll take you there and have the message from one demonstrator who wants to make his message very clear. And as protests continue across the state, the governor brings in thousands of members of the National Guard. What he says about a possible state curfew. And the community is coming together in the face of heartbreak and destruction, from helping business owners pick up the pieces to a solidarity walk in support of those who are hurting. Today is Tuesday, June 2nd, 2020. Good morning. It is 5 a.m. on this Tuesday. We'll get to Maddie Jansen and Kevin Charette in just a bit. But first, we begin with some grim news in South Bakersfield this morning. A car crash has taken 2 lives. CHP says it happened just after midnight. The car was traveling on Bell Terrace just east of Union Avenue. CHP says the driver lost control on a curve and drove into the canal nearby. 2 women died in the crash, both possibly in their 20s. CHP says neither of them had their seatbelts on. We still don't know why the driver lost control, but CHP says it is unknown at this time if drugs or alcohol played a role in this crash. President Trump is threatening to deploy military units to states around the country. The president says he'll do it if governors and local leaders can't get violent protests under control. Here's NBC's Chris Pallone.
About 20 minutes before a mandatory curfew started Monday night, federal officers and National Guard troops outside the White House suddenly moved on peaceful protesters, hitting them with flash grenades and tear gas while shooting rubber bullets. Then, moments later, another extraordinary scene. The president, cabinet members, and staff walked off the White House grounds to a historic Episcopal church that protesters had vandalized the night before. Early this morning, the official White House Twitter account posted a campaign-style video of the visit showing Mr. Trump holding a Bible in front of St. John's Church. The 2 top Democrats in Congress called the president's actions cowardly, weak, and dangerous.
The president just used a Bible, the most sacred text of the Judeo-Christian tradition, and one of the churches of my diocese, without permission, as a backdrop for a message antithetical to the teachings of Jesus.
It happened moments after Mr. Trump delivered his first formal statement following the death of George Floyd a week ago.
I am your president of law and order and an ally of all peaceful protesters.
Warning governors he'll invoke the Insurrection Act to send the military to cities where violent protests continue.
If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
Federal military police are en route to Washington, D.C. on the president's order as the Capitol emerges from the 4th straight night of protests. With the presidential election 5 months away, the presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden will be in Philadelphia today to give a speech on the civil unrest happening across the country. Biden held his first in-person campaign event in more than 2 months yesterday. Chris Pallone, NBC News.
5:03 is your time now, and Governor Gavin Newsom says don't expect a statewide curfew for now, but he is bringing in several thousand members of the National Guard. Ashley Zavala explains the state's response to demonstrations.
Here at the state capitol, barricades are up around the building in anticipation of more protests that could turn destructive. The governor pleading for peace as protests continue throughout California.
Governor Gavin Newsom sympathizing with George Floyd's supporters.
The black community is not responsible for what's happening in this country right now. We are.
After demonstrations consumed California over the weekend, some destruction could be seen just outside of Newsom's office. The governor won't issue a statewide curfew, leaving that up to local leaders.
The looting, the violence, the threats against fellow human beings, That has no place in this state and in this nation.
The governor says he's called up 4,500 members of the National Guard to California, which will coordinate with the Highway Patrol and its 7,000 officers patrolling the state. In order for the National Guard to set up in a community, Newsom says he won't proactively send them in without collaboration from city and county leaders. As protests intensify and security tightens, Newsom sending a warning to both community members and law enforcement.
We will appropriately investigate any acts of violence against others, whether those acts be perpetuated by people in positions of power and influence with badges on or uniforms, or members of the community that are attacking and assaulting in a violent manner innocent people and businesses.
With dozens of businesses damaged just blocks away from here, we reached out to the administration to ask if the National Guard would be helping secure some state buildings. We're still waiting to hear back. In Sacramento, Ashley Zavala, 17 News.
And protests are once again the subject of our today's 17 interactive feedback poll. We want to know, what do you think the U.S. military should be deployed because of the protests and riots? Call or text us at 888-4617. Press 1 for yes and 2 for no. You can also text, tweet, email, or Facebook your comments. Once again, that interactive feedback phone line is 888-4617. We'll air some of those comments and have the first results coming up at 5:30.
A fourth straight night of protests in Bakersfield was much calmer than the demonstration that that police had to break up on Sunday night. Last night's protests ended peacefully with around 200 people attending. They gathered near BPD headquarters first and then marched around downtown and then returned back to Truxtun Avenue. One protester we spoke with says he wants to make sure those watching know they have an important message.
Our fight is to make it clear that Black lives matter. We know that white lives matter, Mexican lives matter, Asian lives matter. We know that all lives matter. But in this moment, they're not making it clear that Black lives matter. So we are here to fight for the injustices and make it clear that that's what the fight is.
BPD says only one person was arrested last night for DUI, setting off an illegal firework. But the department said they have no information that shows he was part of the protest.
The word. Come on, amen. Say it.
Tell them the love of God.
Before the protests, another group prayed for peace during a vigil at the Liberty Bell. Bakersfield pastor Angelo Frazier organized the prayer. He's also a chaplain with the police department. He says the goal is to spread a message of unity, love, and hope. Close to 100 people joined in on the prayer for the family of George Floyd, our community, and the nation. Among them, Assistant Bakersfield Police Chief Joe Mullins.
And we wanted to come over here and share the message that we appreciate everybody who's coming out to share their voice. The last 3 nights have seen some great protests with peaceful individuals who have come out to let their voice be heard. There have been some unfortunate incidents, but overall, the great majority of the people were out here to let their voice be heard about a very important issue, something that's causing them a lot of pain and concern. We welcome that.
Today, the Bakersfield Police Department will host a community meeting to talk about these protests and how they impact our community. The meeting will be held via Zoom and is scheduled from 1:30 to 3 p.m. with Police Chief Greg Terry and a panel of community members. Email either the address you see here on the for the Zoom invitation link, or you can find all of this info on our website, kget.com.
Meanwhile, some residents are planning a solidarity walk today. The flyer says, "Walking for our Black brothers and sisters. We see you, we hear you, we love you." The walk is set to start at the Beale Library on Truxtun Avenue at 3 p.m.
And these protests were the topic of our special town hall newscast last night. I was joined by BPD Chief Greg Terry, NAACP President Patrick Jackson, Mayor Karen Go, and CSUB Provost Dr. Vernon Harper. You can watch our entire discussion about race, protests, and policing on our website, kget.com. Well, still to come this morning on Sunrise, it has been a long road to recovery for a local couple diagnosed with COVID-19.
At one point separated because of the virus, they're finally reunited. We'll have the joyful homecoming coming up at 6:30.
Senior Sendoff is proudly supported by San Joaquin Construction Services.
Welcome back. The time now is 5:18. With so many Golden Empire seniors having had their athletic careers cut short because of the pandemic, KGET and San Joaquin Construction Services decided to team up and recognize our local student athletes. In today's installment of our senior send-off, 17's Taylor Schaub introduces us to Nathan Schmidt, a BCHS student, proving there's no obstacle he can't overcome. Taylor?
Battling immense adversity is nothing new to this 18-year-old who told me just the opportunity to play sports his senior year meant the world to him. When Nathan Schmidt steps foot on a football field, handles a basketball on the hardwood, or prepares to barrel off a diving board, he can't help but think, how am I here?
I don't want to be held back by anything.
If you watch the senior today, you'd never know that little over a year ago, his sporting career came to a crashing halt after suffering a gruesome injury attempting to tackle one of the state's best running backs.
I got 3 compression fractures in my T2, T3, and T4 vertebrae. So I was in a brace for about 4 or 5 months.
All appeared to be over for the BCHS senior, but it seems no one told Nathan.
It was just sitting in my brace. When I'd go to sleep at night, all I could do is look up at the ceiling. I'd just be like, I want to go play. I want to be playing football or playing basketball or swimming or diving.
That hard work led to a miraculous 6-month comeback, which accumulated in a state championship victory.
Watching him go out there and make some catches and make some plays was just put a big smile on my face.
Still, Nathan was hungry, wanting to avenge the fact that he missed out on last year's basketball and dive seasons.
I mean, I got held back for the longest time, and it just built up this I just wanted to be back out there, and I finally got the opportunities.
However, days before a huge playoff game, all sports were canceled.
I mean, it really sucked, especially because it's my senior year.
Another dark period could have ensued, but much like the moments after his injury, Schmidt found the light, remembering that he can overcome any obstacle in pursuit of his next grand goal. Schmidt will be going to Cal Poly next year and hopes to continue his athletic career. And now, if you have a senior you would like to honor, go to kget.com and click on our senior send-off section. In Southwest Bakersfield, Taylor Schaub, 17 News.
All right, thanks so much, Taylor. 5:21 is your time now. It takes a village to clean up after a protest. We want to show you some of the people who've been helping out in downtown Bakersfield. That's coming up after the break.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
Welcome back here at 5:23. Several businesses and buildings were damaged as protests turned violent late Friday night.
17's Amber Freya shows us how people stepped up to help clean up.
Several buildings and businesses downtown woke up to damage after Friday night's protests. Monty's Bass Cafe on 21st and F Streets, one of the places hit the hardest, had a window shattered.
One of my employees who lives across the street, he called me. His girlfriend noticed that the crowd walking by, somebody had thrown something into our window.
It happened around 10:30 p.m. Owner Lori Watson got to the restaurant soon after.
There were lots of people here willing to help and had chased off whoever did it.
Watson says the only damage made was to the window. No one made it inside her shop.
It's just senseless destruction. It's it's disappointing, because there were peaceful protesters who were not out to destroy anything or hurt any businesses. They just wanted to protest. And it's just a shame that something like this happened.
But the next morning, community members stepped up to help clean up. A job Gill seen here cleaning up the Bakersfield Fallen Officer Memorial alongside Louis Gill, CEO of the Bakersfield Homeless Center and the Alliance Against Family Violence, said he felt horrible after seeing all the damage. He too had attended the protest.
Most of the protesters out there, the vast majority, are peaceful. We have an important message that needs to be relayed against police violence and in honor of George Floyd. And the people that are committing these acts of vandalism are not really associated with our protests.
Gill started a GoFundMe to help replace the broken window at Bonnie's Best Cafe. Through the GoFundMe, he asked peaceful protesters and those who support the cause to donate.
By 4 p.m., we had raised all the money that we needed to replace the door.
We want you to know that the vast majority of the people there were there peacefully.
A total of $830 was donated to Bonnie's Best Cafe.
This will more than help fix the window. It will help others that were destroyed. There was another window that was destroyed the same night. We're hoping to help them out also. Thank you so much.
And Bonnie's Best owner Watson says that any extra money left over will be donated to charity as well.